high, you may be low, you may be rich, or you may be poor. When the Lord is ready, you got to move. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move. Oh, when the Lord gets ready, you got to move.
Oh, dropping stuff all over the place already. Be right back. I'm just down here. I don't even know if I need this pen, but here I am, scrabbling for it. Oh my goodness, that was hard. Good morning. Today, funnily enough, my devotion is about self-consciousness, and though it is not a sin to fall into self-consciousness, that we should be very wary of it. Not only in the egotistical sense, where it helps us, or hinders us, I should say, helps us hinder ourselves by drawing us into this consciousness of our practice as opposed to our focus. But also, it can really sow the seeds of doubt, and ultimately, my whole job on this earth is to proceed with no doubt. Perceived with, in a way, in full doubt in myself, but doubtless and faithful in my Savior, which is really kind of a curious thing, because we spend our entire lives, especially our grade school and high school years, trying to come to some concept of self that will enable us to stand firm and not be humiliated or mocked or just feel like a weak little nothing. But we are weak little nothings, and there's joy in that. And I think in our weakest moments is really when we I've found I can go outside myself, and that's where I actually find my completion. But once you're there, it's actually easy to still get distracted by the things of this earth. And then I was just thinking today, how, because it's nearly Christmas, so it's nearly this season of celebration of God becoming manifest in flesh to sacrifice that we might enter into our spiritual adulthood as a species and spread the seeds of Israel all over the world instead of just being this one little nation that he was glorifying himself through. And to come in birth only to die. And how ready I think I've been for a lot of my life to die for him. Not in a terroristy martyrdom sense, but a love, the sort of terrorism of Christ, the love terrorism of Christ, where it's I'm in this martyrdom, I'm performing a cataclysmic shift in the paradigm of the eternal and the temporal. And I've always been ready to give life. I've always been ready to die for him and not been that afraid of death. Of course, a little afraid of the whole process of dying. But the actual death and moving on into the unknown, whatever. But then sometimes, or what I've come to realize, is actually much, much harder to live for him. And then how strange and human of me that in my self-consciousness that where I actually fall short and tremble is in all these little things, in things of perception, of my own sense of failure, and then defeat, and then, oh, I'm never going to be good enough, and oh, wait, that's the whole point, and then, oh, what are people going to think of me, what are the, because I'm still an actor-y type person, too, so it's very much about perception, and the receipt of my emanations, when really I shouldn't be worrying about my emanations. So, I don't know, that's what I'm struggling with in this season, but I'm also joyed in the fact that the more I have been killing myself and dying to myself, the easier it is to live in those little moments, and then I still struggle and fail like crazy all the time, daily, many times a day, probably about 7 to 9 times in the past couple hours. But then even that is the fulfillment. So I don't, even as I grow in him, I don't start relying so much on my growth in him. I just keep relying on him more. Yeah, I don't know. That was probably confusing, but whatever. That's what I'm going through today. and gonna continue to go through. And I'm just looking forward to this Christmas season. And I feel like this is the first season he's led me to be a wise man. And I feel like this is the first year, along with getting gifts for my loved ones, in this time of dearth. It's also a time of birth for Christians, and it's also I think the first year where I feel like I'm setting aside, or I'm able to give gifts, or not able, but I'm finally doing it. I'm finally giving gifts to God right into this end of this year, and it's really exciting. I got my own little creative gold, frankincense, and myrrh ready to deliver. Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited. Merry almost Christmas.